Hello, everyone. Welcome to a whole new world of grammar as we start our journey into the most overrated topic, that is tenses, where learning grammar becomes easy. And in each video, you will be learning when to use the tool, how to use it, along with common mistakes and quick speaking practice. So let's begin. So today, as you can see on my screen, is the day one of our grammar series. All right. So here we are looking at our first tool under the tenses, and that is in reference with simple present tense. Because if you master this particular tense, you will be able to talk about your life very easily. Now, I don't want you to worry because we are going to learn it in a very simple way. Not like school grammar, we will learn it like real spoken English, okay? Let's look at our first section for today. All right? What present simple helps you to really do? Okay? It helps you to explain your daily routines or your habits, okay? Your job or your studies, your likes, dislikes, and general truth as well. Okay. For example, if I ask you, what do you do daily? You can say, I wake up early. Okay. Or you can say, I drink tea in the morning. Or also, I go to work. Now, if I ask you, what do you do for a living? You can pretty much say, I work in customer support. I study in college. Okay. And let's look at another example. If I ask you, what do you like? Okay, the examples are not given on the screen. I'm just giving you these examples orally. All right. So if I ask you, what do you like? You can simply say, I like ice cream, or I don't like waiting, or I like music. So simple present is basically your normal life tense. Okay, you can also call it as your normal life tense. Let's look at the part two for today. That is when to use it. And I think this is, a very important section under the this particular tense rule because this is the decision trigger, as I like to call it, because it helps you to take the decision when to use it. Okay. So when should I use present simple or simple present? Let me make it very, very easy for you. Use simple present when something happens again and again. That means what? It means your routine. Okay? It means your routine pretty much. When something is always true. Okay? Like the shape of our earth. Okay? It's geoid, right? Or many people like to call it as spherical, but it's actually geoid in nature. Our earth is geoid in shape. Okay? Something which is always true. All right? Now, when it is a permanent situation, like your location, or you're from Bangalore, or you're from Delhi, it's your permanent situation. Okay, under these circumstances, also you're looking at using simple present only. Okay, let me give you an example. You will understand it better. If I say I drink tea every morning, okay, now listen. If you drink tea only once today, that's not a routine. But if you drink tea regularly, then yes, you have to use simple present as your tense. Okay. Now, the second point I told you when something is always almost true. All right. For example, if I say water boils at 100 degrees, now it's a fact. That is why my verb boil has an S to it. Okay. Boils. So that's a simple present tense. Water boils at 100 degrees. Now, the third use is, as I told you, is if the situation is pretty much permanent. For example, I live in Bengaluru or I live in Bangalore. Okay, that means that Bangalore is my permanent home. Okay, that is where I'm from. All right, I live in Bangalore. So that means Bangalore is a permanent home for me. So at that point of time, also, I'm kind of looking at using this tense, that is simple present. The fourth use, as you can see, is about talking about your habits, your lifestyle, or your schedule. Obviously, your habit or your lifestyle or your schedule can change over time, but it is not very easy to change it immediately, right? So it's something like a permanent situation. Always keep in mind, when it is a permanent situation, you're going to go ahead and use simple present as your tense or a choice of your grammatical tool. All right, under tenses. For example, if I say I go to work at 9, obviously I go to work at 9 every day. It's my routine or it's my schedule. I'm not going to change it. Or if I say I study at night, now that's also a part of my schedule or a part of my habit. I read a book before I sleep. That's also a part of my habit or a habitual kind of action. So here also we are looking at using simple present as a grammatical tool. So when don't you not use simple present? Let's look at that as well. Okay, so don't use it when something is happening right now, like happening ing form. Okay, if something is happening right now, don't use it. Don't use simple present. You shouldn't use that. For example, right now I'm teaching you. So I will say I am teaching right now. I will not say I teach right now because that sounds wrong. Also, if something is temporary, like only today or this week, the present simple is not the best choice, guys. Okay, so am I okay? Look at this shortcut question. What I want you to kind of do is pause the video here. Okay, pause the video here and pretty much you can kind of read out this question to yourself. Am I trying to talk about my normal life, or you know what is happening right now? If you're trying to talk about your normal life, then you're looking at using simple present. Now if you're not, then it's not simple present. Okay, that is the way you go about actually analyzing whether you have to use simple present or not. Okay, so that's pretty easy. Let's look at the meaning first and not the form. What do I mean by that? Let's understand the meaning like a confident speaker. Simple present means if this is my routine. Okay, simple present means also if this is my truth. And the third point, pretty much very important, is simple present also means if this is how my life normally works. Now, if your answers are yes to all of these three parameters, then you are going to kind of use this tense only, that is simple present. All right. When you use this tense properly, you kind of sound confident, clear, and natural, along with also sounding very normal when you're speaking to anyone really in your daily life. So it comes out really clean and easy if you understand where exactly you should be using simple present as your communication tool. So one mini example, okay, which sounds pretty natural, is I work in a hospital. This a very simple sentence, a very easy sentence. It's very short and simple, but still sounds pretty strong. Now you can pause the video here. Okay, please pause the video here and try to say this, that is I work in dash or I study in dash. I'm just going to wait for a few seconds. I work in dash or I study in dash. All right, if you have tried that, it's a great job. Let's get on going. Let's look at something known as, or the topic known as, build the sentence or formula. I also spoke about this in the previous, the 50-day spoken English course, which is going free on YouTube as well. However, I'm repeating here again. Okay, there is a certain formula when you look at making sentences. Now, we try to build present simple or simple present around this formula. Okay, and honestly, it's very easy, guys. Let's start. It is subject plus verb in the base form. Okay, in the base form, or you can simply call it as V1 form. Okay, subject, verb in the verb 1 or the base form plus object. That's all. Okay, this is pretty much your formula here, guys. This is pretty much your formula. However, if you want to extend your sentence, you're looking at adding time. But your base formula is what? I'm sorry, your mother formula is what? Subject plus verb should be in the base form plus your object. That's it. You can stop here as well. However, again, if you're looking at elaborating your sentence, you can add time. Okay, it's pretty much optional. That is a frequency word. For example, if I say I drink tea, I can end my sentence here. Okay, I can end my sentence here. However, if I'm looking at kind of increasing the length of my sentence, I can add a frequency or a time frame. Time frame. I can say I drink tea every morning. Okay, that's an extra info. Now, the only big rule in present simple is it's pretty much really important. Before I touch this, I'm going to kind of give you certain key parts of this theory. That is, part one is the subject, right? For example, subject can be I, you, we, they, he, she, and it. A verb, which is in pretty much the base form, looks like this: work, go, eat, study, and live. All right, it's the base form. Extra info can be, you can add a place, or you can add a time, or you can add an extra object as well. So that is what I'm saying, that if you look at this part 3 here, especially part 3, it is where you're looking at increasing the length of your sentence. You're going to add this extra to the already existing formula here. All right, great. So I was talking about something very important. That is, if you come across, pronouns like he, she, and it, the verb, okay, the verb, for example, work. Okay, for example, we will take as live. Okay, for example, live. This particular, okay, this particular verb will take an s or es if your subject is he, she, or it. Can you just repeat after me? He works, she studies. It's taken an es form, if you can see here, right? It has taken a es form, if you've seen here. So he works. Repeat after me. He works. She studies. It helps. Okay. So these are the things that you need to understand, and it's a pretty much very important, and probably only one of the rule that you need to keep in mind when you're looking at using the simple present tense. So if your subject is he, she, or it, the verb pretty much takes the s or the es form. Please keep that in mind. A very, very important rule, guys. Okay. Now let's look at something known as negative form. What do I mean by negative form? Not like I'm a bad person. It means that a question mark, like not a question mark, it's a negative form. If I say I eat late, okay, look at this sentence. If I say I eat late, I would pretty much add don't. Wherever you have this don't or this, doesn't, actually doesn't is does not, or don't is do not. Okay. So I don't eat late. It means it's a negative form. So here, if there is a negative form after the subject, okay, that if there is a negative form after the subject is I or she, as I told you here. See, look at this. I, you, we, they, he, she, and it. Okay. So I don't eat late. After the subject, if there's a negative form like don't and doesn't, okay, the verb is pretty much in the base form. Okay, so she doesn't like coffee. So here also simple present is in full action. Okay, great. Question form. When you're kind of questioning anyone, all right, when you're kind of questioning everyone, for example, do you work? Does she study? Now listen to this carefully. In questions, we always use the base verb. That is where your simple present comes in picture. Okay. Does she study? Let's look at this. Does she study? Here, study is not, it doesn't take the es form or the ies form. It doesn't go like does she studies, right? If there is a question, the verb takes the base form. So, does she study? Here, the question, do you work? You can't ask the question like, do you works? You can't add an, can you add an S to works? And then do one thing, you can just pause the video here. Okay, just pause the video here, guys, and try to kind of read this question whilst adding an S to work and see how it sounds. Please do that when I'm telling you to do, because that's pretty much very important to understand. I know some people might really already know the format, the rules and things, but this is again for people who are struggling with tenses, all right? Or it's a sense of revision also. Okay. Now, if you've done that, great job, guys. Moving ahead. So, do you works is wrong or it's incorrect. Do you work? Because the question form with do or does along with the subject, the verb form is pretty much in the V1 form or the base verb form. Okay. Let's look at part number 5. Three core patterns. As I already told you at GKPro, we are kind of looking at, revolving around strategies. We've got some patterns for you to understand this tense. All right? Because grammar alone is not fluency. As I already told you, and I keep reinforcing that fluency comes from strategies, guys. You really need to understand that. So, pattern one is the most basic, okay? That is a simple routine sentence. As I told you, simple present or present simple is pretty much used when you're talking about routine. I plus a verb. That's it. I wake up early. I go to work. Very simple, right? That's very simple. Let's move on to pattern number two. Pretty much more natural, okay? Uh, when you're looking at pattern number two, you're looking at adding frequency words like I usually, often, sometimes, always, rarely, and words like that. Examples. I usually drink tea. I can pretty much say I drink tea. But if I add these words, like usually, sometimes, and always, and rarely, it sounds fancy. That's the trick. I usually drink tea. She comes late. I can just say she comes late. But how about I say she often comes late? Here, I kind of sound really polished, and also my sentence is a bit, elaborated. So basically, adding frequency words help you to do that as well. Perfect. Let's move on to pattern three. See, to sound advanced and stronger is something that all of us want to do. So you kind of really look at adding time or place anchors. And what do I mean by that? I'll let you know through the examples. So pretty much adding time. Time is when a certain activity takes place, probably in the night, day, morning, midnight, mid-afternoon, pre-lunch, post-lunch. These all are time anchors. Now, what are place anchors? Place anchors can be home, restaurant, right? Uh, Library, college, school, office, anything. So basically, you're looking at adding these extras in order to elaborate the way you speak, or in order to enhance the way you already speak. Okay. So examples are on weekends I wake up at 7. So I can literally say I wake up at 7. Okay, and end the whole thing. But however, I want to kind of add this particular phrase here, that is on weekends. What do you think if I add this? It sounds like it sounds pretty good. On weekends I wake up late, or I wake up at 7. All right. At night I study English. I can pretty much end it saying that I study English. However, I can say that I study English at night. Now that kind of accentuates the way I speak. Now look at this third sentence. Both of these sentences, that is on weekends I wake up at 7, at night I study English. All both of these sentences kind of are in reference with time anchors. Time anchors. I just kind of curated a sentence uh, by my own in regards with the place anchor. So that would sound something like my friend often bakes a cake at home. So at home is a place anchor. You're adding frequency as well. That is often. My friend often frequency. You're looking at adding frequency. You have already added a frequency word. Now I kind of want to elaborate the sentence a bit more. So I said that my friend often bakes a cake at home. You can always delete this. You can always think of not using this. Okay. However, you want to kind of accentuate the whole thing, or you kind of want to elaborate the way you speak, you can just add certain words one at a time. Good. Let's look at a bonus fluency pattern. Now, this is something that I called as truly a strategy from our side, that is GKPro, and we kind of told you, I already told you, and I reinforced the strategies are what help you to sound fluency. Okay, fluency. The fluency kicks in. It helps you to pretty much sound fluent in your day-to-day way of communicating with others. So let's look at the bonus fluency pattern. It's pretty much optional, guys. If you want to use it, you can use. Otherwise, you can just neglect it. All right. So look at this. I prefer. I like. I don't like. Okay. I like, I prefer is still okay. When it comes around, if the sentence is forming around a letter like, Like, okay, plus your verb, okay, verb goes into an ing form and it starts acting like a noun. At this point of time here, I really want you to understand a concept. Okay, one second, hold on. Let me kind of give you a proper rectangle. Okay, so see, the one that I've highlighted here, it's very, very important. So when there is a sentence which takes on like I don't like, okay, this particular like word, okay, plus a verb in the ing form, many people get confused that it might be present continuous, because as you can look at the table here, if you can look at the table here, all right, okay, I'm sorry, this table is wrong. Just hold on. Okay, let me just delete this table for now. We don't need this. Okay. So basically, what I was talking about is when there is a sentence, I prefer, I like can be followed by a object. That is, I prefer tea or I like ice cream, and you can end the whole, the sentence. However, when you have a negative, a word like don't followed by like, and then your verb is taking an ing form. So, for example, if I say I don't like swimming, now many people get confused that it might be present continuous because the verb is taking the ing form. Here, my friends, this particular kind of verb taking the ing form is known as a gerund. Now we are going to be talking about gerunds in depth in the upcoming classes, and I'll be taking a whole session, in reference with this particular grammatical tool, and those are gerunds. Please do not be overwhelmed when I talk about words like this in between the classes, because I really want you to truly understand what I'm talking about in depth. Okay, so gerunds are going to be touched later. However, I'm just going to give you a mini definition about it. That is, a gerund is a verb. Okay, a gerund is a verb. Verb means action word. A gerund is actually a verb. Okay, but it functions as a noun. It functions as a noun if you have words like this, like. Okay, I'm not going to dig deep into this concept now because we are dealing with present simple. So let's kind of move ahead. Okay, all right, let's look at examples. I prefer online classes. This is okay, pretty much in present tense itself. Now this also is in present tense. That is simple present. I don't like waiting, but many people think because waiting has an ing, it is present continuous. That's not the concept. Okay, that is why I am telling you that I will be kind of talking about gerunds in depth in upcoming classes. I'm going to do that. All right, we are going to touch that as well. Okay, now let's get back to some real life model lines. All right, or you can just you know kind of tell that they are examples. Let's look at daily life. I wake up. It's not woke up. Okay, I wake up at 7. I cook dinner at home. Again, this is somewhere that I cook dinner can be it, but at home is where I spoke about adding something more better, is the place anchor. Okay, I cook dinner at home. Work or office. I work in customer support. Or the next one is she attends meetings daily. Social or WhatsApp is just an example. I reply fast. She doesn't text much. Okay, she doesn't text much. So I just want you to understand one thing, that is Simple present sounds best when it is short, clear, and real, guys. Let's look at the contrast corner, okay? Only if it's needed. It's often confused with present continuous. And why do you think that? Because if I say, there is a difference that you can easily remember. That is, if you're looking at using present simple or simple present, you can say any either the way. Okay, you kind of really need to understand that you're talking about routine or permanent situation. Now if it's present continuous, it is something that is happening now. It is not a routine, and it's not always. Okay, if it's present continuous, it is temporary. Just try to remember this difference. So don't mix these two tenses. Just ask yourself, is it my normal life or something is really happening today? Okay, I hope I'm clear here. See, I'll kind of repeat that again. If it is simple present, you're talking about routine or a permanent situation. If it's present continuous, you're talking about what is happening right now, not routine. And you're looking at a temporary situation and not a permanent situation. Okay, for example, a permanent situation is I work in Bangalore. What if something's temporary, I would be using present continuous. That is, I am working from home today. So this is temporary. It is temporary. That is why I'm using work plus ing form. All right, that's the basic difference. Now, mastering the present simple. How do you master something? I pretty much want you to kind of understand that if you're mastering something, you really need to understand what are the mistakes that you can do whilst you're using those certain things. All right. Now at this point of time, we are looking at using present simple, okay, or the simple present tense. So we should understand what are the common mistakes that we can actually face whilst we are using this grammatical tool. So you can just take few minutes and read this part. It's pretty much very interesting. Okay, you can take a few minutes and read this part, guys. However, I'll be reading out for you as well. Okay. Okay, so the present simple tense is a cornerstone of English grammar. Yes, it is used to describe habits, as I told you, routines, general truth, yeah, and more. However, many learners make a few common mistakes whilst using it. Now let's tackle these one by one. So the first one is something that I pretty much kind of relate to because my children also kind of do these kind of simple mistakes as well. However, let's get into the explanation. Now, the incorrect version of a sentence might sound like this. She work at the hospital every day. As I told you, if your subject is she, then your work pretty much takes an S, right? She works at the hospital every day is the correct explanation. In the third person form, that is he, she, or it, the verbs require S or ES at the ending in the present simple form. This is one of the most important rule that you need to remember. If you can repeat after me, it would be great. She works, he works, it works. Perfect. Okay. Now let us look at mistake number two. Incorrect use with adverbs of frequency. When I say adverbs of frequency, or what do I mean by that, is that position of frequency words will go wrong. Many people actually do this, and I also have heard many of my students kind of talking like this when we come across or we have to kind of get their introductions done. All right. They say the incorrect version is I. Okay, I always am late for class. I always am late for class. It doesn't sound incorrect, but it's absolutely not right. All right. So the correct version is I am always late for class. Why? Why do you think so? Because adverbs of frequency like always, usually, never, etc. come before the main verb. See, the verb over here that I have, color coded and red is wrong. Why? Because the verb is not in the correct position. But when you look at this sentence, I am always late. So your always, okay, your always is usually coming before the main verb. And what is the main verb? It is late. So always remember, if you're kind of using words like always, usually, never, etc., you have to place them, okay? You have to place them before the main verb. So always is always placed before the main verb, guys. This is the main verb, and frequency, words that are related to frequency are always in front of this main verb. Now this is something that you also need to remember. Okay, great. Now let's look at mistake number three. When people kind of use a simple present for right now. What do you mean right now? As I told you, simple present cannot be used for something that is happening now, because that automatically goes into present continuous tense. So let's look at an incorrect statement. I eat my lunch right now. This is a wrong sentence when you're looking at using simple present. Okay. Now, you know, pretty much, see, look at the explanation. The present simple or the simple present is used for habitual actions, not something that is happening right now. So this cannot be told, in the form of I am eating lunch right now. I am eating, this is present continuous tense, guys. So please try to always understand the difference between present continuous and simple present tense. Okay, when you're looking at using simple present, it has to be a routine. It shouldn't be somewhere that you're talking about actions happening now. It is the next topic that we are going to talk about. The second topic, or the second grammatical tool that we are going to talk about, is our present continuous tense. This is simple present. So when you're talking about routine, is when you're looking at using simple present, or otherwise it's going to be present continuous. Okay. So if for actions in progress right now, use present continuous tense, and the form is, we will be talking about it later, is, am, are, plus your verb in the ing form. Now quickly let's look at mistake number 4. I am liking this song. Look at this. Confusing the simple present again with the present continuous. Incorrect statement is I am liking this song. No, no, this cannot be. It even sounds wrong. The correct is I like this song. Why? Certain verbs like, love, hate, etc., they describe states. What do you mean by states? They are feelings, not actions. Okay, these are not verbs actually, they are feelings. So when you kind of want to tell something, some sentence with the help of words like, love, or hate, they are not typically used in continuous forms. They usually stay in their simple present form itself. Okay. Like, for example, if you want to say, I'm liking this song, no, you have to, let go of this ing. You just have to say, I like the song. That's also another kind of mistake that many people do. And a very important thing you need to keep in mind is this mistake number 5 is overgeneralizing irregular verb forms. I'll let you know what is irregular verb forms. Now let's look at the example. Incorrect statement is she goed to the store yesterday. No ways. What is goed? There is no word called goed. Why? Because the correct statement is she went to the store yesterday. All right. Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Because irregular verbs do not follow the ed form, guys. Okay, this rule is for the past tense, and that's going to be our third topic of coverage in detail. Everything that I'm going to talk about will be in detail. There will be a certain points in the whole session where I'll be talking about present tense, and then I'll be talking about past tense in the present tense lesson, or I'll be talking about past continuous in the past tense lesson also, because I need to convey the difference between these tenses. That is the reason. All right. So irregular verbs do not kind of allow the suffix of the ed verb. I'm sorry, the ed form of words. So what do I mean by that? Let's look at some examples. Now if I say eat, it's never going to be eated, not buyed, okay, taked, or comed. No, this is wrong. It's absolutely incorrect. You have to kind of you know change it to ate, bought, took, and came. So this means that some verbs like have special past forms. You cannot use the ed format for that. All right. So verbs, this is an extra, this is this mistake number 5, okay, is a certain kind of an extra information for you guys to understand that how exactly irregular verbs also can create that discrepancy, or a kind of incorrect sense, and make incorrect sentences, and makes people go, obviously they start talking like they really don't know their tenses. So that is what I'm kind of telling you. Please understand these are the irregular verb forms, and kind of remember this mistake number 5. Do not overgeneralize irregular verb forms. Great. Now, practice makes perfect. Examples. So I want you to kind of pause the video here. Please do this with me, guys. Okay. And repeat after me. Repeat in the sense, I spoke about this in my 50-day the free course that is going through about spoken English. All right, I kind of told you about a small topic known as shadowing. All right, shadowing, something that is in trend nowadays. So I want you to kind of shadow after me. My dog chases squirrels in the park. My dog chases squirrels in the park. So look at this, it's habitual action. This particular dog always chases squirrels in the park. So that is why it is simple present. Again, the second one. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Water boils. Simple present. Fact. General truth. So, simple present, obviously. Repeat after me. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay. Next. I usually wake up at 7 a.m. It's a routine. I hope you're repeating after me. I usually wake up at 7 a.m. All right. I also told you when you have do or does, your verb actually stays in the verb 1 form. Do you know where the library is? Do you know where the library is? Please repeat after me. Do you know where the library is? Okay. This is the state of being or knowledge, or in simple words, it's a question. Okay. Now let's look at some tips for today. These quick tips help you to avoid mistakes, all right? Memorize verb conjugations means focus on both regular and irregular verbs altogether. Practice, that means create example sentence for different scenarios. Do it on your own, okay? Do it on your own. Create certain sentence wherein you are mindfully sitting and making sentences with the help of all the strategies that I just spoke to you about, okay, and try to see that whether you are staying in that simple present tense, and that is the only way that you're going to learn tenses at a deeper level. Okay, now the last one is mistakes are a part of learning process. Please do not be impatient. Try to have that patience and do it right. That's it. Now let's look at a micro conversation section. For example, okay, this is just an example section. If someone asks you, what do you do? How would you answer? You would say, if you're working in marketing, you would say, I work in marketing. Nice. Do you like your job? Another question. You might say, yes, I like it, but it's busy. Okay. Now you can just end it here. However, I told you there's a probably a strategy when you look at the speaking part, which leads to an extension. It would help you to sound fluent as well. You can add but, so, or because, and kind of, change this sentence to something that sounds like this. How? I work in marketing because I enjoy communication. It sounds fluent, it sounds easy, it's short, it's crisp, it's great. All right, that is the extension tip that I can give. You can add words like but, so, and because, and add the reason why exactly you told this part. Okay, great. Let's move on to the practice session for today. Again, guys, again to just try to tell you again and again from the day one in my spoken English course as well, I have been telling you that practice is what makes you perfect. Please pause the video here and go ahead and practice. I usually dash in the morning. You can add your pretty much whatever you do in the morning for, on the basis of whatever you do. It can be the truth as well. Okay. My father or mother dash every day. How about pray every day or exercise every day? It can be anything, any verb. I don't dash at night. Okay. On weekends, I dash. Sleep, relax, eat, anything. My best friend dash a lot. What do you think might come here? Think about it, okay? Think about it. This you need to think about. My best friend dash a lot. Think about this. It's a bit difficult. Not difficult. It's a bit not that easy to kind of, fill up this particular blank. I know the answer, obviously, but I don't think I'm going to give it out. So my best friend dash a lot. All right. Now this is again the, extend this session of the guided practice. Make it negative. Okay. I'm going to give you the answers here. Don't worry. Please pause this. All right. Pause this part. No issues. And make it negative. What do I mean by make it negative? Kind of make the sentence negative. All right. I eat late. Make it negative. Now, she lives here. Make this into a question tag. Like a question. Change the same sentence into a question format. And the third one, add a frequency word. I study English. Try it out. I'll give you the answers shortly. Okay. The first one is I don't eat late. That is how you're making it negative. Make it a question. She lives here. Does she live here? Now that's a question. Does she live here? Okay. Live. This live, no, it lives, right? This becomes live when you're actually kind of changing into a question. Does she live here? Okay. Now add frequency word to the third sentence. I study English. So it would be I usually study English. Okay. Usually is your frequency word. All right. Great. Let's move on. I also told you when you're looking at adding those frequency words, they are always, you know, placed before the verb. Okay. I study usually English. It's wrong. You can't form a sentence like that. Always understand that when you're looking at adding a frequency word, it has to be added before the verb. I usually study English. It is not I study usually English. Okay. It's not that. It is how you kind of remember this particular. I spoke to you about that in the mistake section, I guess, wherein you're looking at adding those frequency words just before your verb or your action word. Okay, yes, let's look at the next section. I want you to personalize it. Now, this is very important. It means, okay, speak or write. You can do it after the class as well. One line about you. I dash every day. One line about your opinion, still using present simple only. Don't go to any other tense. I prefer dash because dash. So I can say I prefer tea because it helps me relax. Okay, there's no ing form anywhere. I prefer tea because it helps me relax. You can do your own version as well. All this from here to here, it is all the guided practice session, guys. Please pause the video and do this. Whenever I add this icon on the screen, it means that I want you to pause the video and kind of, practice. All right. 40-second speaking task. Wow, that's a big one. So what I want you to do is talk about your routine in 6 lines using present simple tense or simple present tense. Just for the sake of your, for your sake, I've just got an example here. It can obviously change. My routine is not your routine, right? As I told you, simple present is used during routines. So I want you guys to talk about routine here. It can change. Let me just read it out. I wake up early every day. I brush my teeth. I eat breakfast. I go to work. I come home in the evening, relax. I sleep at night around 11 or 10. All right, p.m. So this is someone else's routine. You don't have to bother to write this as the same, similar to this. You can actually go ahead and add your own 6 lines. Take the time and do it, please. Okay. A very small, quick checklist. Um, During this session or this particular lesson that falls under the grammar series given by GKPro, okay, I just want you to understand that you need to check, kind of follow this checklist wherein you have to ask yourself, did I use it for the correct meaning? Did I follow the formula, or is it short and natural? All right. To give you a closing session or a very small recap of what we actually did is we used the simple present, or we learned how to use the simple present or the present simple tool. Okay. We also learned that it is used to explain your routine facts and regular life. All right. So that is pretty much it. We actually had a very good session. We kind of went through all the guided practice sessions here. We also went through certain mistakes that a person can do while they are using simple present tense as their grammatical tool for communicating or for communication. All right. So what I pretty much want to tell you now is that we are going to look at the next related tool, and that is present continuous. Okay. And a mini call to action today, guys, is that practice 5 sentences and use them in your daily conversations with your friends, your neighbor, your colleagues, or it can be anyone. Okay, great. If you are learning with us on YouTube, this lesson is a part of our free grammar series. Now, if you want guided practice, that is to build your confidence step by step, you can join us through the free course link provided in the description. Start free, guys. Continue only when you feel absolutely ready. Thank you so much for joining in. It has actually been a wonderful session. Thanks a lot.